name is Stellamaris Mulaeh, founder of Act for Change Trust, a national NGO that is working with communities across 9 counties in Kenya. And we work on resilient food systems. Act for Change Trust catalyzes communities to lead in their own development, practice agroecology in its 4 dimensions, ensure inclusive finance for especially rural marginalized communities, and work together also with global donors to be able to together ensure communities have a meal, women have access to financial inclusion, and children are also getting nutritious diets. When I was in university 20 years ago almost so, I had an opportunity to join a club, and during that time we were able to volunteer in Nyalenda slums at a time when HIV was quite a big issue in that part of the country. And from there, I was convinced of moving towards social justice issues. Out of university, I've worked with NGOs, but more particularly when I go through the villages, it's very sad to see people in communities not being able to access meals 3 times a day. Yet they have a lot of land, yet they have a lot of resources available to them. So one of the visits that really convinced me to work in food system was in Tana River in 2014, where I visited the Oromo community in Wenje, and I was listening to women what kind of food they cook for their families. And for me, it was very sad to hear people talking about boiling spaghetti and putting some bit of cooking fat and giving this to families. And there I made a commitment to really look on how to help women, working with them, walking with them, and giving them the skills that really they would give nutritious diets to their women, to their communities, to their men, and to their children. And so that's where the journey began. It's now been over 18 years, working with over 7,000 people across Kenya in groups, practicing agroecology, establishing kitchen gardens. And when we talk about kitchen gardens here, we are talking about vegetables, plant protein, and also calorie crops. We are also talking about women being able to access money, community banks that allow them to buy food during lean time. Like now we have a drought. Women can go back, borrow money, together purchase food and distribute among themselves. And also what was also very interesting to note was that the burden on farming has been left to women. And when we talk of agroecology as a farm system approach, it means that women will even be more of a burden. So across the 7 counties we work, we looked back and asked ourselves, how did women work together in the past? And so we've gone back to mutual aid. I work today in my farm with several women. Tomorrow I go to another farm. We work and enable people, ensuring that no one is left behind. We work with about 8 partners. In Kimaeti, in Bungoma, we are working with Kimaeti Farmers Association, bringing together 75 groups of farmers. Each group is composed of 20 farmers. And we work with these farmers together with the staff of that organization, building capacities for resilient food systems. We are having farmers establish kitchen gardens, food forests, poultry, and also working together to sell their collective produce to the market. In Mount Elgon, we work with an organization called SOET, working with 60 farmers groups to ensure that they are farming food that is organic, food that respects the nature, and that they can get a diverse diet throughout the year. In Machakos County, we work with the Catholic Diocese of Machakos, and we are currently working with 130 groups in Machakos and Makueni County, where we also have the same concept of women coming together, men working together in communities, establishing community nurseries, and establishing a community extension service on agroecology that serves this farmer. In Laikipia, and particularly in Olmoran and Baringo in Muchongoi, we are working with 120 farmers groups. And here it's very special because this is a region where we have a lot of conflict, and peace building is a very important aspect of production of food. So in this region, we have 4 peace committees that work to discuss about responsible resource management. In Kitui County, we work with Caritas Kitui, where we have implemented 32,000 cook stoves, ensuring that women can access clean cooking energy. In Dupoto Ema, or in Kajiado South, we were working with an organization called Dupoto Ema, where we are working with 82 groups of pastoralists. And here we talk about grass seed banking, we are talking about range management, we are having women establish community solidarity banks where they can really borrow money when there's a drought like now to buy food, to buy grass for their small livestock, and to ensure resilience with the impacts of climate change. So we, in those different counties, we always work with a local partner who is rooted in the community. We train project staff. We accompany the partners to deliver. Like last year, we implemented what we call feminist agroecology schools. These are schools that are bringing together women, rural women, to give them space that they can learn from each other, to give them space to peer coach each other, to give them space so that they can have their agency felt. So in November, we had feminist schools for women from Bungoma, Busia, Machakos, Makueni, Laikipia, Baringo. And what shocked me was the neglect of women in rural communities on the importance of their reproductive health. We had stories of women who talked about what they go through in regards to their reproductive health. And luckily, we had gynecologists, specialists in reproductive health, who brought a sense of awareness to these communities. So when we talk of we as champions of agroecology, we are talking of agroecology in the 4 dimensions. How do we farm? How does our farming practice take care of the environment? Does the farming we do put money in the pocket? Does it make communities resilient? Do the farming we do take care of gender dynamics? We are talking about women. We are talking about access to land. We are talking about care economy, because in the rural areas, the women farm. But the decisions on what is farmed and how the harvest is done by men. So how can we change these perspectives? We are not talking about just women only. We are talking about everyone in the community has a role, the men, the women, and the children. My joy in the success that we've had is the establishment of the 700 farmer groups across the country. These 700 farmer groups have a community extension service serving them on agroecology. These are people are selected by the 700 groups to serve them. So they are fellow farmers. If they want to ask, why is my mboga not doing well? We have Mama Njeri, who is next door, who has been trained to offer that accompaniment. So I think establishing farmer groups that have been working together for the last 7 years is a huge success. And what have we seen? Diets improved. We just did an impact study in particularly regions of Laikipia and Mochongoi, And we saw that when we began, the incidences of severe food insecurity was at 42%. Today is at 14%. When we talk of the minimum dietary diversity score for women, because we want to know how do women, what kind of food are women taking? And we found that for those women that we are working with, they have a diverse diet. To about 85% of the women interviewed, they are able to have protein, they are able to have vegetables, they are able to have calories. And why is it important to measure the diets of women? Because they're at the center of nutrition and diet in homes. So that's one of the impressive success that we've worked with communities, that we have seen food insecurity go down, diverse diets gained, women gaining agency. All those 700 groups, 88% of the leaders are women. So it's shifting in communities that also are very patriarchal to allow the women to take a lead. There are many challenges. The first one, if you are in agriculture, is climate change, because the droughts are often, the floods are even often. Before a drought is finished, the communities can recover, the next drought is onboarding. And so what we've done with that particular challenge is to really work with communities, first, to use indigenous knowledge available, and two, to also use science to look at how do we continuously build the resilience of the community. Secondly, when we talk about agriculture, and especially in our country and in our community, the land is owned by men. They decide what is farmed and what is not farmed. And I remember when we began small. When we asked the men and had conversation in villages that they give women a place to begin, they gave them the worst of the land. But slowly when they saw composting, crop diversity, improvement, the men began to shift. They were not being asked money for vegetables, money for pencils for kids, money for oil, because from the working together with the women, additional income was seen. As the challenge changed, no, it's an ongoing discussion. Cultural attitudes. For instance, in Vihiga, women are not allowed to plant bananas. Why? Because it's a tradition that has been embedded in the Maragoli community for many years. Do we tell them, allow us to plant? No, it's a process of discussions. So patriarchal attitudes on roles of men and women in agriculture is a continuous discussion. And especially where land rights, access to land use is a big one. For instance, we have places where women have done a good job on the land, and soon the man plants sugarcane, or he decides, oh, this has become so very good, I want to plant coffee, like in Mount Elgon. So this discussion remain embedded in the challenges of the communities. One way, for instance, this year is the International Year of the Woman Farmer. We are going to have rural women assembly and men town halls. And men town halls, we are going to use men who are champions working with their women on agroecology to be facilitators of this dialogue. My prayer is that, and my vision is that, the 2 million Kenyans who are food insecure chronically every year are reduced by 500,000. And how we are going to do that is we continue to catalyze communities. Local-led development is sustainable. So as much as we have now examples, we have proof of concept. Scaling up is the next step. Working with counties, it is such a huge pleasure to see across Kenya that many of the counties have formulated agroecology policies. For us, this is a watershed moment because the frameworks are there, bringing people together to work on an already existing framework, and change of mind is easier than when there is no framework. So looking to the future is that the 1.5 people who are still chronically insecure food-wise can manage to have 3 meals a day of diverse diet. Our goal is zero hunger for these communities. I think the best thing I could say about Give to Gain, which is the theme this year, is the spaces of co-creating with local communities and especially women. We have seen the sustainability of many of the initiatives because we are also urging communities that if they create opportunities, if they create spaces for women to gain, then the whole community gains. Whether it's issues of land, I give an example, in Kajiado, land is communal. When we wanted to begin farming with the women, we went to the elders, the community land committee, and they were able to give the women 20 acres to begin with. So when we look at men giving women permission to decide what to grow, then the whole community, the whole family gains because they have diverse diet, they have extra income, and they are built resilient. And that every pillar of the community, of a family, gives in a contribution. So I'm happy to be part of this journey of giving women so that the community gains and they themselves also find their voice.